The Seafarers Christian Friend Society is a Christian organisation which provides a service to seafarers with compassion. Service with compassion is the call, commission and goal. Colin Jenkins is the chaplain of Cork Harbour with the Seafarers Christian Friend Society, and he took some time recently to speak to me about the work of this organisation. Colin, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Arthur.
Give us a bit of an understanding, Colin, of the background of this organisation. How did it start in terms of its start-up, its original focus, and what the work you're actually doing today?
Yes. Well, there are lots of different seafarers missions. There's the Catholic and the Anglican Seamen's Mission. Then there's smaller non-denominational seafarers missions, of which we are one of those. SCFS started in 1846, so it's a long history. And here in the Port of Cork, where I'm based, I think there's been a presence since 1860. So a long history of helping seafarers. So we care for anyone who works on the water.
Okay. Tell us a bit about the different ships, the different boats you work with on a day-to-day basis.
Yes. So before becoming the port chaplain or port missionary here, I had not much knowledge of ships at all. And now I've been on a lot of ships, thousands and thousands of ships. There's many types of ships coming to Cork. Some ports only have a couple of kinds of ships coming in. Here in Cork, we have all different kinds. Ships which carry cars or tractors. Sometimes ships are carrying airplanes, helicopters, and trains even. Sometimes they even carry other ships. And then I've been on a submarine before. There's oil tankers which come into the harbour which carry over 100,000 tons of oil. Ireland's only oil refinery is Irving Oil Refinery in Whitegate. Then there's container ships, general cargo. Cruise liners are a big one in Cove. Over 100 cruise ships come here each year in Cove. And some of those ships carry 5,000 or even 6,000 people on one ship. Then you have smaller cargo ships. So there's a massive variety of ships on a daily basis. Today I visited 5 different kinds of ships, and 2 of them have just come out of a horrendous storm, which we have just had here. And they were, some of them were fighting the storm, and some of them were surfing and running with the storm behind them. And there was, I think, 6 or 7 meter waves was the height of the waves. So it was quite a big storm that they've come through.
Tell us, Colin, in terms of the conditions that the people you work with and interact with each day in these ships, give us an understanding of the various conditions, how it works for them.
Yes. So once again, there's a massive variety because there's all different kinds of ships and they have different flags where the ship is registered. It's called a flag of convenience. Like conditions have, of course, improved over the years, and there was an inspection on board one ship today called Port State Control. There's a lot of there's sanitation and health, and there's lots of inspections and organizations to make sure everything is working properly. But there is a big variety. Like I remember a ship telling me there's the budget for the food provisions was $6 per person per day. In other words, $2 was the budget per meal, which is not going to get you very much nutritious, healthy food. I have seen cockroaches on some ships. What else? Ants. Yeah, well, but basically, even if the conditions are okay and the salary is okay, it's still a very hard job because the number one thing is 9 months away from your family. That adds up to 30 years being on a ship. There's only 5 years at home with their families. And that is the case for many of the seafarers. Even some I gave a lift to the supermarket today.
So these seafarers, when they come to port, obviously they're allowed out, they're allowed onto the mainland. How does that actually work in terms of visas, in terms of people getting respite from the ships when they come into port?
Yes, usually they're allowed to go ashore, which is, in fact, there's international regulations, MLC, Maritime Labour Convention, which states that provision must be made for shore leave, which means going ashore, because otherwise you can imagine. Now, I did encounter some people during the pandemic, and they were 18 months on board a ship. And I took them off and brought them to the beach. And the captain said, now we feel human again. But sometimes the problem is not that they are not allowed to go ashore, but that they are so far from the city centre or from a town, and also the fact they have no time because they work very hard. Like even on a cruise liner, they could be working 10 to 12 hours every day, and every day is a Monday. It's a it's a challenging life, and we're just privileged to be in a position to be able to care for these nomad people of the sea.
Okay, it's very different. So, in terms of the work you actually you do, the help you give them, tell us more. What is it like when you board a ship in terms of the environment, trying to make friends, trying to tell people who you are, or what your whole focus is?
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting calling. So like, of course, 90% of world trade comes by sea. So without these people, most people might not know too much about ships. But if you look, for example, Ireland, the main cities are ports, and most towns have a river running through them. So we do depend heavily. It's not just fishing boats; it's all types of ships. If you have something made in China, it's probably come by ship. So it's clothes, cars, food, computers, coffee, bananas. It's like 90%. Okay, so whenever I go onto a ship, like today, sometimes the gangway can be very steep. Like today, there was one that was about 50 degrees, I think. Whenever I go on board, I meet a mixture of people. So in a year, I meet up to and over 100 different nationalities of crew. Sometimes on a cruise ship, you could have uh, 60 nationalities working on the same ship. So they have to speak a common language, which thankfully is English. Now, today I went to 5 ships. Some of them had just 3 nationalities, some of them had 4 nationalities. And some of them, one ship had only 6 people on board one of the ships. So it was a small one. You also asked me about how what we do. So we go on board and we're a Christian charity. We're there as a friend, as our name the name of the charity is Seafarers Christian Friends. So we're there to be a friend. Now we do meet Hindus, Muslims, Buddhists, atheists, Christians. We meet a wide spectrum of humanity, and we're their friends. And they actually look forward to meeting us and me possibly turning up, bringing them to church, supermarkets, bringing them SIM cards to talk to their family, even bring them to Photo Wildlife Park. They love a trip out to the zoo. So we're there to holistically care and show God's love to the people. Often we might have a service on board or bring them to church as well. And it's really appreciated. Ireland is famous for pubs and churches, right? Well, the seafarers usually are looking for one or either or both of those. And we're there to provide spiritual and practical help for them.
Okay. Can it be difficult at times to actually break the ice? You aboard a ship. I imagine at this stage you're well used to ships, what the routines, the rules of boarding a ship and so on. You'd have clearances, you're well accredited and for this work. But getting aboard a ship, trying to break the ice, perhaps maybe some of the ships you'd see time and time again going back and forth. You might know the same people, recognise the same people. But if it's a ship you've never been on before, people you've never met before, how do you actually break the ice and tell them who you are and what your aim and purpose is on the ship?
Yes, yeah, good question. Because often, well, it's like second nature to me now, climbing up a gangway, and even before I go on board the ship, saying hello, my friend, and of course a smile, a wave. I'm from the Seafarers Mission, going to bring them some free gifts. So I remember one of our colleagues once saying to me, "There's a verse in the Bible in Proverbs that says the gift opens the way for the giver." So we never go empty-handed. We always bring a gift. And sometimes it's snacks, literature they might like, Christian devotional books, Bibles, teddy bears, woolly hats. They love the woolly hats, keep them warm, and teddy bears for their children back home. Then we also bring, as I said, the SIMs for the Wi-Fi. Not all of them have the internet, and that's a big help to them. Also, no one wants to turn down a free ride to the supermarket. But we are, in a sense, a bit like a Santa Claus. We do bring gift packages all year round, but especially at Christmas, and that goes from November right through to February. Each year we give out 1,000 Christmas presents, and Life FM usually plays an advert for us, which is great. People bring in a few gifts to the station for us, for the seafarers, or wrap them up and put them in a freezer zip bag, which is a great help. So I hope that answers. But yeah, there's obviously, like, I remember to become friends with the Filipino takes like 2 minutes. And in the past, some of the Eastern European countries, it might take 10 minutes before the ice is broken. It's interesting. There's an actual type of ship called an icebreaker. And yeah, we often have to do an icebreaker, as metaphorically speaking, and break down those barriers. But it's usually not very hard. And the seafarers are very, very happy that we have turned up or made contact with them.
Okay, so when you get into port, are the crew generally at ease? Are the crews generally in relaxation mode when the ship is docked in the harbour?
Yeah, it's another interesting one, because obviously there's cargo operations. They're here bringing a cargo. They're like a postman or a taxi man. They're bringing things. So one of the ships today was bringing massive steel pipes, steel or iron. They were big. Sometimes they bring windmills, and other ships had animal feed. Sometimes they bring molasses or animal feed. A 42-day voyage coming from Indonesia, and then the containers. But see, they're very busy with all these cargoes. They need to deliver the cargo safely, and they're quite busy, especially. Well, it just depends what kind of ship, they do try and relax, and to go ashore and to relax is very, very important in terms of their emotional state and mental health. Sometimes they can be struggling with many issues, not only on board, sometimes they've nobody to talk to, and then we're there as a listening ear, but also back home. Often we've also visited seafarers in hospital, and there's a nice video on our website where we visited one guy in hospital. He was actually there for 6 months, and he was in a coma. He was on life support, and he made it safely back home. Then he recovered, went back to Bulgaria.
Okay, so there's a lot of work to do. A lot of people, there's a huge need there. How can people find more about the actual work you're doing on a day-to-day basis? How can people get involved? Could they volunteer? Could they help out in some way?
Yes, there's so many ways to get involved, and we're always excited to have volunteers helping us. We have a meeting place in Cove, which is kind of wrapping up now for the summer, with all these cruise ships coming in. But it's been fantastic to have volunteers come down and meet crew members off the cruise ships. The big difference with cruise ships is the amount of ladies working on board. You imagine a cruise ship is just like a giant floating hotel. With 5,000 people, that would be 2,000 crew and 3,000 passengers. So you can imagine what that's like. But having this meeting point and a place for them to come in, relax, and play some games like table tennis and darts. There's even a karaoke and a PlayStation. And to have a cup of tea and to connect to the families with the Wi-Fi. They're so happy. Now, to find out more, the website, scfs.org, and the Facebook page, facebook.com/scfs1, number 1. Then Martin Otto, my colleague in Hamburg, he's prolific with writing books. There's lots of books, and a fantastic the first book he's written is called Seafarers, A Forgotten People. He's written another one called The Seafarer's Mind. Those are all available free as a PDF, but there's a lot of information out there. But if you check out the website and the video and get in touch, all the information's there, and we'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much. Just one last thing there. Martin, he wrote his second book is called Church on the Oceans. So a lot of people don't realize there's Christians at sea as well. So he said our work is evangelism, discipleship, as well as church planting. So it is a lot, as you say. Thank you so much, Arthur. Yeah, prayer support and practical support. It all makes a difference in these people's lives. And we're really grateful for all the supporters. There's people knit woolly hats for us. There's people help make up Christmas presents. There's people pray. People give financially. And it all makes a big difference.
Okay, Colin, thank you so much for your time. Thanks again.
Thanks.